map? You see the map there?
Yeah.
So where it says Abyssinia is towards the southern part there, and you see the Red Sea, and you see that everything is very tight, close, and connected. There was really a much more dynamic relationship going on for a very long time in this area. Afro-Arabian type of relationship, of intermarriage, of trading, etc. As well as the exchange of goods and slaves being a part of those exchange of goods, all in this time period. And so the first migration is to Abyssinia. It was ruled by a Christian king named, who knows? Najashi, Negus. So the king here is one who knows the Arabs through trade. Before the message of Islam, before the message of Islam comes, he knows the Arabs through trade. And so the Prophet says to his companions, to those early Muslims who were persecuted, go to Abyssinia, for there is a just king who will protect you. So this is without relationship with the Prophet, but knowing the status of the Christian community there to be those who upheld the law of justice. And so in this very beautiful story, there's a verse of Qur'an that's recited to the king of Abyssinia as the clansmen and the rulers of Mecca go after these early Muslims to take them back and capture them and bring them back to Mecca. They present their case to the king of Abyssinia. On page 14 is where she talks about that. It's a great reference. And so the king asked for the Muslims to make their case. And they make their case by saying, O king, we were an uncivilized people, worshiping idols, eating corpses, committing abominations, breaking natural ties, treating guests badly, and it goes on and on about this very uncultured life or a very deviant lifestyle. And our message of the Qur'an is that we respect kinfolks, that we treat people as equals, that we worship one God, that we don't shed blood. So he goes on and tells them what the message of Islam is teaching. And so after a few kind of back and forth arguments about what the message of Islam truly is all about, they asked them, what does your book say about Christ Jesus? This is what the king asked them. And then he recites a passage from Surah Ali Imran about the miracle birth of Christ Jesus. And so the passage in the Qur'an spells out in detail that he was born of a supernatural way by the command of God, and that this is how God sets his example in the world, by showing through these signs. And so there is this very famous moment where the king draws with his staff a line in the sand before them and says, the only thing that is different between my religion and yours is the thickness of this line that I have drawn. And he keeps them, and he protects them for many years. And there's a community that continues to live in Abyssinia or in this modern-day Ethiopia that trace their ties to the early community that was there long before the second migration, which is to Medina. The verses in Medina are verses that come and speak about really community building and the governance of community. In Mecca, there was one tribe, there was one tribal system in Mecca. There weren't different types of people. It was under the rule of one clan, one tribe, etc. The place of Medina, which is days away by travel by camel or by foot. It's about 20 minutes away now by modern day transit. And most of those who are on the Hajj, they take a trip to Medina as a part of their sacred pilgrimage. But at this time, which is a very important part of how the Qur'an then changes its message, and reforms a lifestyle that's present there, is that it's coming and addressing a situation where there are two main groups that are at odds for many generations. They are at war with one another, but yet they have to live in the same place. And then you also, so these are two pagan tribes, Arab pagan tribes, but then you also have tribes from the Jewish community that are present in Medina as well. And you have this interaction within the region of even a Christian community that's in Yemen. And sometimes, we got to go back to the geography and look at the map just to see how close these things are. There's always jokes about Americans in geography not being the sharpest. But these things are very, very close, and the travel within Arabia was something common for trade. So you have in Yathrib, you see it on the map, Yathrib and Mecca, very close to one another, but very different circumstances, very different environment. So Muhammad the Prophet is invited to be a mediator, and he's expected to bring peace to this new city called Yathrib. And in the process, they take allegiance with him, and verses are revealed on how they should govern themselves in respect to one another under the same faith. And so the Qur'an teaches them how to mediate their affairs, how to have proper judgment and counsel when there is discrepancy. It deals with issues from inheritance to marriage. It deals with issues of divorce. It deals with issues of how to raise children. It deals with issues as well in terms of business and trade. The longest verse in the Qur'an talks about writing things in contract form when you have an agreement. So it's dealing with the everyday interactions of society and being a book of law and a book of guidance for community life that is just and balanced. And so you have in the picture of the Qur'an, you have the short surahs being very potent, very powerful language is being used, but they're very short, and they're revealed in Mecca. And then you have these very long surahs that are very detailed about how to do things and what should not be done. And these are revealed in the time period we're looking at in or after this second great migration in Medina. And those verses are giving direct instruction for laws on how to govern your family life, how to govern your community life, and most importantly, how to seek a strong relationship for yourself with God. I want to stop there and open up for questions, anything specific to the book or in general. Anyone have any questions?